Play better poker with betterpoker.net. In this tutorial, we will have a closer look at ranginator's preflop features. Mainly we'll see how we can select ranges for our opponent, and then how we can select our own hole cards, and then put those in relation with those ranges when it comes to winning or losing. As you can see, I got the desktop version of Ranginator on the left and the mobile version on the right, in order to easily demonstrate how each of these features work on the respective devices. First, we'll focus on the rankings and the associated percentage slider. For instance, at this point, I selected roughly the upper 18% of the no limit ranking. As you can see, hovering over these rankings explains a little bit what they are. Obviously, if I change the ranking, for instance, now I got the upper 18% of Sklansky-Chaburkov, the range up here changes. For ICM calculations, we got push all in and call all in, and we got heads up all in and poker stove. Now on the phone, it is very similar. I can just select a ranking and then move the percentage slider around to hone in on what kind of range I would get with specific percentages. Now, one thing that's interesting is, if you go back to no limit now, if we move just the right percentage slider here, we get basically the raising range, right? Because for instance, right now we got the upper 8.8% of the opponent's range. And obviously that would be for the opponent raising. Now, what if you're interested in playing around with different ways you could be calling? So let's just say we find out the opponent is calling with roughly 10% of his range. Well, but first of all, we got to take away the raising range, right? So let's say, what if we saw him raise 5%, and then the next 10% he's calling? So we can easily get the answer like that. And we can easily move it around to play around with different raising ranges and how it would then affect his calling range. Now, as you can see down here, when we move this around, it's updating in real time, which is kind of nice because then we can easily just press this button and copy this range somewhere. Now, for instance, if I move it around, but then I paste it back in, we got the range that we just had. So this is easily very useful if you're trying to integrate with other tools. For instance, you could copy a range from another software that is helping you with your poker and paste that in here to get a starting point, or you could select a range here and copy it into that other software. We can access predefined ranges that Ranginator provides us via the ranges selector. As you can see, each range has a preview associated with it that gives us a better idea of the range we're about to select. Once we click it, the preflop range over here is updated immediately. We can also reorder ranges. We can rename them. We can save our own ranges, create new folders for our ranges, and delete ranges as well. This works very similar on the mobile. As we can see, ranges are presented in the exact same way. However, since the range selector covers up the entire preflop, we have a preview of the selected range on the upper right to give us a better idea. Once we click that preview, we go back and see that the range was selected preflop. Now let's look at how we can examine the chances of the opponent's range winning versus the chances of our hole cards winning. Let's first clear the opponent's range entirely. And then we give ourselves some really strong hand, ace-king offsuit. But now let's assume that the opponent only has aces or kings. And we can see that then our chances of winning are only about 18%. And as you could see, Ranginator refines those numbers in the background to come up with the most exact results possible. Now we can give ourselves ace-king suited to see that in that case, our chances of winning improve a little bit. And obviously we can also change the range of the opponent to see how that affects the chances of our hand winning. The weaker the range gets, the better our chances of winning become. This works very similarly on the phone. We can just select the hole cards like we just did and see our chances of winning displayed immediately. This concludes the preflop tutorial of the Ranginator. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll give ranginator a try.